Friday night again, John. Welcome back. Things have calmed down a bit, I would say, but we're still on the assassination attempt. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing well. It's amazing how this story has dropped out of the news cycle as almost like it didn't happen. And all everybody's talking about is Kamala.
Oh my God.
You go to Drudge Report, you go to Breitbart, you go to any of the news aggregating sites, I'm sure Google News, and it's all Kamala. It's like 85% of the headline stories. I'm somewhat blown away by this, and we're going to play a video clip in a minute. Chip Roy got together with Dan Bongino and Eli Crane and Andy Biggs and Corey Mills. And Chip Roy is like, we're acting like this didn't happen.
Yeah.
This is kind of wild. Like, how somebody just shot former President Trump in the head, almost killed him on live TV, and we're on to the next story? Is it it's nice to know that I'm not the only one who think it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about the assassination attempt, and in particular, we'll talk about this session with Dan Bongino and Eli Crane and Corey Mills. I had a chance to look into their backgrounds, and a couple things that are interesting to me. One, Corey Mills and Eli Crane are both like 20 years younger than me, so that's pretty wild.
48
it's nice to
or
see
something
guys.
like that, right?
No, they're both like in their early 40s. They're
Really?
both like in their early 40s, yeah. So they carry themselves with, great gravitas, and that's great to see. But when you see guys of this next generation, I guess, coming up, showing this leadership, it's really cool. So, but yeah, I was looking into their backgrounds. I'm like, damn, I'm like 20 years older than these guys.
Well, but also he went and rented a plane and just rescued people from Afghanistan because Joe Biden is such an idiot. He's a badass.
He's unreal. So Eli Crane's got a wild backstory. And I don't know if you guys know, he was on Shark Tank and all that kind of stuff, and had a successful company.
Oh yeah, CEO Eli Crane. He's got on Twitter.
So he was on Shark Tank, and he had a product. So he was a sniper in the SEALs, and he came out with a product when he got out of the service, where he took 50 caliber rounds and turned them into bottle openers.
I do remember seeing that. I didn't realize that was him. Wow.
That's him. So he was on Shark Tank.
That made a lot of money.
It did very well. They got 75,000, I think, from Mark Cuban and one of the other guys or something. And they went 75. And he ended up selling the company for like $2 million or something like that to some guy in San Diego or something, some story. But the net of it is, then I go look into Corey Mills. Corey Mills wasn't just also in the military. Corey Mills then goes to work for military contractors. And so when you hear Corey Mills talk about this stuff, he's like, you got to get him off the X, and they had him on the X for over a minute. He knows his stuff. Right. He's like, when you read up on his background, it's like, damn, this guy went from the frying pan into the fire. Like, he went from being in the service to doing military contractors work, and I think he was on the ships at sea and stuff like that. So some pretty heavy duty stuff. Yeah. So these are really qualified guys who are getting involved here, and that's really cool to see. To see guys with these qualifications getting involved, and they're not towing the line, and that's fantastic.
What about Dan Bongino?
Well, I don't know if you're comfortable playing this clip here, or we have to wait to go to the patron only.
We got to wait, because the problem with Dan Bongino is he's a dick and a social engineer and a lawfare practitioner.
So what, isn't his attorney the same attorney
Stephen
as
Biss? Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's his deal there? And he's also an owner in Rumble or Truth Social or whatever.
Now we'll play the clip with the patron. Yeah, we'll play the clip with the patron.
For people who aren't yet, that's Bongino. No, that was a long time ago. Long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because of this.
Okay.
But the point is, John, we're going to look at this stuff on the sponsor exclusive segment, and people can join us if they're not yet sponsoring the show. I would encourage people to go check out subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, or odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You forgot to mention that Eli Crane mentioned you by name, and not only mentioned you, said that he's not yet ready. And this is a smart way to conduct an investigation. He's not ready to conclude that there wasn't a second shooter, and he cited the primary reason for that being your evidence and your hypothesis about the path of all these people getting shot across the back row.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. So he mentions that to Dan Bongino. As he brings it up, it sounds like a food cart crashes, like somebody just had a heart attack.
It's interesting that you noticed that. I'm
right, and you're like, what?
That you noticed that.
It sounds like
I know a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I know a little bit about what's going on with the setup of this committee. That's super interesting that you noticed that, John. I think you know what's going on here, because he says.
Also interesting.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a very interesting show. People have to.
But Chip Roy mentions the Vegas shooting,
right?
And I kind of feel like, well, I kind of feel like they were acknowledging, I know what you know, and I know that you know what you know. It was one of those things, and I think Dan is sitting there going, "Damn it! I thought we had this guy take, that this was on the Ixnay, and
there's so much nuance to this thing. I'm delighted because you and I actually haven't spoken. You've been busy with your footage and everything all week.
So we'll watch that with the patrons. We've got a couple other clips that we're going to watch with the patrons as well. They're really important. They're really critical. And I think the reason this show, so he brings up the Vegas shooting and everything. And Dan changes the story. Dan changes the subject to the January 6th pipe bomb, where nobody died, by the way. Nobody died from the January 6th pipe bomb hoax.
Right.
So when you're comparing, when he says that's the biggest cover-up in political history, no, Dan, nobody died, bro. The biggest cover-ups in political history are the Las Vegas shooting, right? The, things of this nature. Yeah. The 9/11, the COVID thing, 7 million dead, but I digress.
JFK assassination, whoever is behind this assassination.
Yeah, so let's talk about this, because this is going to blow the story out of the water. And since last week's show, the FBI shared with us photos of the weapon. Ridiculous. It only took 5 weeks. Now, if you and I had been running the FBI and something like this happened on a Saturday, we'd have been publishing the photos of the weapon Monday morning, and we'd say, "Here you go."
Here's the Saturday night. We were on this
whatever. We got a lot to do, But by the time we get back to the office and we get it set up and we get the photos and we do it right, and we got to get the brass
Sunday
and we have the brass out of the brass tracks machine, which we've shown everybody a couple of weeks ago. We looked at brass tracks, right? So we'd have all those results, right? We did it. We picked everything up Saturday night.
No, wait. Hang on. I got to disagree, because the most substantial piece of evidence that they're talking about, saying that, hey, this is the reason why we shouldn't abandon the investigation of the possibility of a second shooter, you had that out, I think, Saturday night, didn't you? That was one of the first videos.
It was it was Sunday night. It was Sunday night. We did a show together Sunday night. Yeah.
Sunday, we would have had more than this.
All right, but again, it's like pictures of the gun. It's like everybody wants to see pictures of the gun. Everybody wants to see the brass things.
Oh.
And you know what? You wait 5 weeks.
FBI ruler. That's a special one.
Yeah. All right. So now here's what's going to make this show very interesting for people. So first of all, we now know what the optic is. Okay. We see what kind of optic he has. And it turns out I happen to have one that's almost identical.
Ah. Well, so what is this? This is a AEMS?
So that's a hollow sun, and this is a hollow sun. So I have a very similar device here. And when we go over to the patron-only portion of the show, hang on a second, 1 second.
Don't put it on a gun, because that'll take it off of YouTube.
No, of course not. No. Come on, this is just a thing. So now when we go to the patron-only portion of the show, you're going to get to see what it looks like to look through this.
Nice.
Okay. So this is like what he has on his gun. Mine costs a little bit more because mine has solar things on top. Okay.
Doesn't look like a
So,
sniper scope, though.
well, that's the point, is it's the wrong device for the job. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk about that. So
That's
for
what I was
people who
asking,
aren't,
and people said you don't need a scope from there. So it's like, how are you a sniper if you don't
no,
have
so
a...
we're going to look at different scopes. So this is a scope, but this is a 4-power scope, but it's $250. The thing he's got on his gun is $400, but has no magnification. We're going to get into this stuff. I've got a bunch of scopes here. So when we get to the patron only portion, you're going to see the right equipment that you would have put on the gun if you were serious about what you're doing. And it kind of begs the question, if you're doing this, why do you have the wrong gear? Why do you have the wrong setup? If you're planning something like this,
Right.
why wouldn't you have
Well, he's got all the
the right
sophistication to make the bombs. They were even talking about how sophisticated the IEDs were. It seems like not something that a 20-year-old
Yes.
can do. And you know what? You're causing me to remember something that I wanted to ask you, John, because while you were on the trip doing your video shoot and photo tests and all that, I was digging into this whole dot in the room and what it might be associated with. The only thing I know for sure is that it appears on the window, and the only thing I can think of that it would be an infrared dot. All the stuff about what it might be doing there becomes sort of speculative, but I was going down the road of that tracking point rifle, and just in looking into snipers and what the spotter is supposed to do, it focused so much on the whole concept of like concentration and how focused the person on the glass has to be. And it's just so different than what this guy was doing on the roof. He's like up there, and then in 3 minutes he's shooting. It doesn't seem at all like what they're describing about the process of doing this kind of sniper shooting.
if the guy on the roof had that cockamamie setup on his gun, that tracking point thing, and we were all like, what the hell is that on the gun?
Well, right, he doesn't have that.
There's a guy below. Right, that's the thing. And what I'm going to show people later, when we get to the patron only portion, we're going to get into these trajectories on these 8 shots. And the reason this is important is you start to understand, when you understand each one of these 8 shots, we go through them individually, you realize they can only be coming from AGR, except for a handful that are questionable. And those are important, because if there are shots like the one that Eli Crane references that goes down this back row of the bleachers, if that can't come from AGR, well, that introduces this notion of a second shooter. Well, it appears that let's take a look at this PDF deck if we have just a couple minutes before we go to the patron only portion. And I want you guys to see this, because this is really important. This is like a big, big deal. We all counted 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bang. Okay, and there's that counter shot. Last week's show, we looked at footage from Jeff the Plumber, Jeff Ostroff, and Gray Hughes Investigates, saying that this body cam was capturing a Butler guy shooting back.
Oh, yeah, wait. We got to address that, because we made a mistake last week. I agree with him. It's off by 12 seconds, and he figured it out.
Okay, so that's okay. But let's go. We're going to go back to the FBI photograph, because the at issue here is whether or not it's out of sync by 12 seconds or not. What these guys are saying is the guy shooting back, he's not taking a shot. There's no recoil on his shoulder. Now, what we're also going to look at here is the stock on this gun. All right, we're going to look at the stock on that gun.
Oh, yeah, right. This is crazy.
This is the stock. This is the stock of an AR-15. And this is fully extended right now. And if this were to break right here, it would look like the one you see in the picture. Let me see if I can turn off my background buzz.
Oh, and then you're saying when you shove it in, that cylinder would be there. How is that part breaking off or something? But how is it breaking off? That's under his arm, and he's behind the roof.
Hang on. How do I turn off my touch of my appearance? Display my, show my, damn. Advanced, optimized quality video. Oh, man, what a pain in the butt this is. Just here, turn off blur map. There we go. All right, here we go. This is AR-15 stock.
Wait, you're frozen now. Oh, there we go. We got you.
There we go. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Now, here's the problem. look at the picture that you see there from the FBI, okay? Now, here's the same thing, give or take, different manufacturer, but roughly the same thing. Okay, watch. This is how you use it. Can you see what I'm doing here?
You push it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, he would be
so if
shot
I'm-
in the face if that was there.
So if the shooter's up in front of me, right? So the guy's out on the field by the fence line, right by the fence line, and he's going to shoot and hit here. Where's that bullet going to go? Look how I'm on the rifle like this. Okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Where's
at
it
all.
going to go? It's going to
Into
go in
your
my
face.
clavicle.
Oh yeah,
And of course,
shoulder.
we didn't hear anything about this kid was hit with 2 rounds. We didn't hear
It's
that.
nuts.
Nobody
I
said
don't
he
know
was
why
hit with
they.
2
I don't know
rounds.
why they came with this story. Why does this come up?
How do you break it there with a round and he got shot basically in the cheek?
It doesn't make
This
sense.
is where my cheek is. The whole point, one of the reasons I really like this stock, by the way, this is the Daniel Defense stock, and this is like rubber. It's like a soft rubber in here. Most of the others are just like hard plastic. This is nice. You're supposed to put your cheek on here, and you're supposed to get what's called a cheek weld. So you're supposed to have your cheek on that. And that's what got shot?
Doesn't make
Dude,
sense.
this would have blown, this whole part of his face would be gone. This would be gone. Right
Doesn't make
here,
sense.
or it comes into the
It's almost
clavicle.
like it's almost like there was a
It would
cop
look
on the
like-
roof who's like, "Oh man, that's a perfect waste of a perfectly good AR stock. Let me bring my broken one and I'll take that one and we'll just so call it evidence." What do you got? A bazooka? What is that? Oh, that's the sight.
This is a scope. This
Wow.
is a scope.
That is
So now, right. So if you want to go get the business done, this is what you put on your weapon. Okay. So
Is that the one we used?
This is the one you used. Yeah. You used this
Yeah,
one.
that was
You
a
did.
serious gun.
And a serious scope. So the question now is, where does a 20-year-old kid get the motivation to go up there with the wrong
Yeah.
stuff? Why would
minutes
you
before he's gonna
plan
shoot.
something? He's got a $400 up. That's $400. It's $399 at Brownells. Go to Brownells.
Well,
It's
that's it.
it's the
this
Hollow Sun.
mismatch. Isn't that it? It's this
Yes.
mismatch of sophistication and lack of sophistication that just doesn't really make sense.
And
you know,
yet
the other
he's
thing,
up there and gets blown away in the head. We clearly have a dead guy up there in a pool of blood.
you got to see this. Earlier today,
This
I
feels-
interviewed Donna and Joe, and they were eyewitnesses who, they saw the woman who got shot in the hand. And
Dude, this
yeah.
is huge.
I know. And
All right, so
Donna
when we get to the Patreon,
had pictures.
All right, when we get to the Patreon only portion, we've got a super cut of people talking about this. So tell us more about what Donna shared with you, because we got a whole super cut of this.
They
coming up
gave
with the
me a very super duper high resolution panorama from an iPhone that shows. I was talking with Bubba's Lamb Chops about this photo, and it shows. Let me see if I can get. Here's her photos at the rally. I think this is it. And this is it. Let's go full screen with that. Okay, can you see this? Look who it is.
Yeah.
This is the lady right here who gets shot
Clip?
and drops that thing. I think.
No way. And
Yeah,
she
look,
has
she's got
that
her
in
cell phone and a sign in her hand.
Wow. Yes.
Okay, so they
did
said
she
that
get
they
this
saw
on
this
video?
woman. They saw this woman leave with her hand wrapped up in blood, and that a dead guy was carried out of this section by his arm and one leg, and that there was somebody else over assembled by like all these like military looking dudes, I guess, I don't know, SWAT or whatever, but it didn't look like a regular ambulance. And they had a lot of stuff to say. See, they saw the golf cart. Here, this is the dead person and all these military and state police. And they just had a lot of really interesting. Here's the golf cart. Now, remember, Erin told us there was a younger guy. Maybe it's this guy. I haven't had a chance to speak to her again, but it's a golf cart.
We know the guy who drove the golf cart. We know his name.
Yeah,
We know
but
who
not
it is.
she saw the driver and said that might be him, but she said there was a younger guy with him. So anyway, but
Okay.
Donna and Joe just had a lot of images, and also they saw the gray suit
That's huge.
dude.
All right, you got to see something else. So let's go back to the deck because you got to see. You haven't seen this yet. This could blow your mind. All right, we got to jump ahead one slide. If you assume Trump is the target, all right, then every shot at the target has only one of two outcomes. It either hits the target or it misses the target. We hear 8 rounds of gunfire, right? So let's go to the next slide. I was
I thought
supposed to
you counted
replace.
more than 8.
Well, we hear 8 that are supposedly coming from bad guys, and then a return fire shot that I said sounds like a counter sniper. And then we wait 8 seconds and we hear that final crack. Now, the at issue here is, are there more downrange ballistic events than 8 rounds fired? And that's what we're going to be exploring. There's a round that hits the corner of the railing. That's the one that Eli Crane talked about. It's the one that, I talked about
Right.
when I was on with Brett Weinstein and everything. So we know about that. We know that there's a round that hits Trump in the ear. So that's undeniable. Now stay on the list. I got to go through that list. 2 rounds hit Copenhagen. 2 rounds hit Dutch. 1 round hits Comparatori. We know that one of the rounds hits the hydraulic line.
Right.
We know that 2 rounds hit the John Deere tractor. But did you know that it appears that 3 rounds hit the fire engine? Did you know that 2 to 4 rounds hit Pittsburgh motorcycle police officers? We
There's a lot
talked
of
about the
rounds.
lady, right? The lady whose forearm or hand was hit, and then 1 round grazed Ronnie Jackson's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than 8 by a lot. So that would mean that rounds would have had to gone through Dutch, through Copenhagen, and
Could happen,
nobody
though.
told
It's
us.
high caliber, right?
It can. Well, no, 223 at 150 yards, probably not going to go through you. No, probably not.
Really?
So, yeah, probably not. Yeah, not if it hits you in the liver. Yeah,
One
no,
other
it's
thing,
not going to go.
Donna and Joe said, they were pretty adamant about this. And Joe owned like handguns and rifles and shotguns. They said they felt that people were shooting from all around.
I'm sure. Well, I'll go to the next slide and you'll see why. You hear the supersonic crack as the bullet passes you. So if it's 223 and it flies by, you hear the crack. But then if it hits something like the windshield on the John Deere 8210,
You hear that?
impact. You hear the impact and you turn to the right, and that appears to have been hit twice. Now here comes the big break of the week. The next slide. The next slide was taken from where Copenhagen and Dutch were being carried out. Look at the windshield on the fire engine.
Ooh, it's got 3 bullets in it. More.
Sure does look that way.
It looks like it's got
wow.
1, 2, 3, maybe 4. No, that's inside the thing. But we gotta get a better photo of that. Are we sure that's
Go to the
bullets and
next
not
slide.
something inside?
Go to the next slide. So this is taken from video, and I'm capturing multiple frames here to see, is there parallax? Because you taught me the whole parallax
Right.
headlight thing on the window. So I'm looking for that. I think we got 3 holes in the windshield, bro. So we'll have
How
to
much
look
does
at this
this
one.
camera move? We got to see that video.
We're going to have to look at it with the patrons. So when we go to the patron portion, we'll look at this. This is that Jim Moore footage that was in that link in the email that I sent you, the Jim Moore footage. This is why it's important, because
Okay.
he picks this up. And we've got now, if the tractors hit twice on that side of the glass, these 3 rounds would be consistent with somebody shooting at the sniper and missing, and heading down the back row and hitting the fire engine. So in other
That
words, it
looks
was
like
to
a reflection
right.
on the steering wheel to me. No, one of them.
I don't know. But you'll see it in multiple. Again, if it's a reflection, it'll be a reflection. But looks like we got 3 marks on the window. We definitely have 2 of them on the John Deere, right? And then the next slide really kind of addresses what we just did with the stock. And when we go to the patron only stuff, I'll walk you guys through the stock. But if he's set up like this with the stock at his
Yeah,
arm and
how
he
do they
shoots 1,
shoot
2,
that?
3, 4, 5, and keep in mind the timing here. What the claim is
That's
from
first.
Gray Hughes investigation is it's bang, 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 bang. That's the 5. And then immediately after that 5th shot, Well, then either his face is gone or it entered his clavicle,
Yeah.
and there should be a shower of blood. There should be like Dawn of the Dead. There should be flying out of here. You know what I mean? You know, when they hit it here, man, it's like, oh man, it's it's like samurai stuff. So we don't see evidence of that. So that's kind of weird. It's like, how did
It's
you
just
guys?
all nonsense. Everything the FBI is telling us, pure, just
And
like,
this is, again, if it wasn't for the Vegas shooting and the fact that they broke the window it's like you wouldn't believe half the stuff, and you'd say, "Come on, they would do that." But yeah, we've seen ridiculous degrees of forging of evidence. So yeah, they do this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we get to the patron-only portion, we've got video clips. We've got a supercut talking about this woman whose hand was injured, apparently. And so we got a supercut of that. We've got the cut where we've got Eli Crane, Corey Mills, Andy Biggs, and Chip Roy talking with Dave Bongino.
Right. And Eric Prince.
Well,
no,
did you
Eric
see the
Prince
audience? Well, that's
you
at the
got
actual
the Dan Bongino show. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. Not just that show. Their whole conference.
Then the whole event. Yeah. And we've got more to talk about because Donald Trump did an interview with Elon Musk on X. It got, 1 billion views or whatever.
Yeah.
So, crazy numbers. But Donald Trump says that the guy who took out the shooter took a shot at 400 something yards, and he brings it up again this week.
I'm sure he heard it from Eric Prince.
Or
he's friends with Eric Prince, isn't he? His sister is Betsy DeVos, Eric Prince, right? And he made her the Secretary of Education, I think.
You're going to love this. Where do you see the connection between Betsy DeVos, Eric Prince, and the Heritage Foundation? So the Heritage Foundation is Amway. And Betsy DeVos and the DeVos family is Amway. And
what is Amway selling? Makeup or something?
Amway is like cleaning products and stuff like.
But it's like that multi-level marketing kind of thing or something.
I think it was like a big catalog thing in the day. I guess it was like they had salespeople that would go to your house. Not like Fuller Brush though. It wasn't like the Fuller Brush company, but I think it was like like Electrolux. The Electrolux guy used to come to the house to sell the vacuum cleaner, wasn't it? Right, but this was Amway would come to the house to say, "Hey, you need floor cleaner, you need this cleaner, you need."
It says it's a multi-level marketing company that sells health, beauty, personal care, and home products. So yeah, it's another one of these. See anyway. Well, we've got a break.
Big money.
Right. We'll see everybody join us on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen, patreon.com/I am John Cullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Huge thank you to everybody who is sponsoring the show. This is going to be a good one. So if you haven't yet, join us.